At minus 71 degrees Celsius, your breath doesn't just fog up, it crystallizes midair and falls to the ground like tiny shards of glass. Your eyelashes freeze shut if you blink too long, and if you're not careful, frostbite can set in within 2 minutes of exposed skin. 2 minutes, that's how long it takes for your flesh to die, for your fingers to turn from pink to white to black, for the tissue beneath your skin to freeze solid, like meat in a freezer. This is the temperature where a cup of boiling water thrown into the air doesn't fall back down as water. It explodes into a cloud of ice crystals before it hits the ground, where metal becomes so cold that touching it feels like touching fire, where the air itself seems to crack and splinter with every breath you take. And in this cold, in this frozen hell on earth, children still go to school. Her name is Sayana. She's 8 years old. And every morning, while you're probably hitting snooze on your alarm, complaining about Monday, debating whether you really need that coffee, she's wrapping her face in 3 layers of scarves, pulling on reindeer fur boots that her grandmother made by hand, and preparing for a walk that could kill her if she makes one wrong move. One wrong move, that's all it takes. Because Sayana lives in Oymyakon, Russia, the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth, a village so remote, so brutally cold, that it shouldn't exist, that defies every logical reason for human habitation. But it does exist, and people live there, and life goes on. School doesn't close here. Not at minus 50. Not at minus 60. The official cutoff is minus 52 degrees. But that's only for the youngest children. The babies, the ones in 1st and 2nd grade. But Sayana is 8 now, 3rd grade. Old enough, they say, to handle the cold. Old enough to understand that survival isn't optional. It's mandatory. This morning, it's minus 71. The thermometer outside her window reads numbers that would make most people refuse to leave their homes. Numbers that sound like a death sentence. But Sayana doesn't have a choice. None of them do. The sun won't rise for another 3 hours. It's 7 a.m., and outside her window, the world is a frozen void of darkness. The kind of darkness that feels heavy, thick, oppressive. The kind that makes you feel like you're at the bottom of an ocean, drowning in cold and shadow. In the summer, this far north, the sun never sets. It circles the horizon in an endless loop, a perpetual twilight that drives some people mad. But in winter, the sun barely shows its face. For hours of weak, gray light, if you're lucky. The rest is darkness. Her mother is already awake, moving quietly through the kitchen. She's boiling water on the stove, not for tea, not for breakfast. For the car, because here, if you don't keep your car running overnight, the engine oil freezes solid, the battery dies, the fuel turns to gel, the metal contracts and warps. Some families leave their cars running 24 hours a day from October to March. They have no choice. The cost of fuel is high, but the cost of a frozen engine is higher. Sayana's father is outside right now, in the dark, in the cold that could kill him, using a blowtorch on the door hinges just to get the car door open. She can hear the hiss of the flame, the scrape of metal on metal. He's been out there for 20 minutes. When he comes back inside, his face will be red and raw, his eyes watering, his fingers stiff even through his gloves. But he doesn't complain. He never complains. Inside, Sayana begins the ritual. The same ritual she's performed every winter morning since she was 5 years old. She pulls on her first layer, thermal underwear made from wool, thick, scratchy, uncomfortable, but warm. Always warm. Then a second layer, long johns, a thermal shirt, then a thick sweater, hand-knitted by her grandmother, with patterns that have been passed down for generations. Then a down jacket so puffy she can barely move her arms. The kind of jacket that makes her look twice her size. Then another jacket on top of that, a windbreaker, because the wind here doesn't just blow, it cuts. It slices through any gap in your clothing like a knife. Her fingers are already stiff, and she hasn't even stepped outside yet. The cold has a way of seeping through walls, through windows, through the very foundation of the house. Her mother comes over, kneels down in front of her. Her face is serious. It's always serious on mornings like this. She wraps a scarf around Sayana's face. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Only her eyes are visible now, peering out from a cocoon of fabric. Even those will freeze if she's not careful. Even those need protection. Don't stop walking, her mother says. Her voice is muffled through her own scarf. Not for anything. Not if you drop something. Not if someone calls your name. You keep moving, do you understand? Sayana nods. And don't take off your gloves. Not even for a second. Not even if they feel too tight. Not even if your hands itch. Do you understand? Sayana nods again. She's heard this 100 times. 1,000 times. She knows what happens if she doesn't listen. She's seen it. Her mother's eyes soften for just a moment. She reaches out, touches Sayana's cheek through the scarf. Be safe, my love, she whispers. And then the moment is over. Because there's no time for sentiment. No time for fear. There's only time to survive. The door opens. And the cold doesn't just hit you. It doesn't just touch you. It invades. It's not the kind of cold you feel on your skin. It's the kind that goes straight to your bones, that makes your lungs seize up, that turns every breath into a painful, burning gasp. It feels like drowning and suffocating at the same time. Like your body is shutting down, cell by cell. Sayana steps outside, and immediately, the moisture in her nose freezes. She can feel it, the tiny ice crystals forming inside her nostrils, scraping with every breath. Her breath comes out in thick white clouds that crystallize and fall around her like snow. Like she's exhaling pieces of herself into the darkness. The walk to school is only 15 minutes. In summer, when the world thaws and turns green and alive, it's nothing. A pleasant stroll through the village. In winter, it's a test of survival. Her father drives her halfway, the car groaning and sputtering, barely functional in the cold. But he can't go all the way. The roads are too icy, too narrow, too dangerous. The last part, she has to walk. She's not alone. There are other children, bundled up like little astronauts, moving slowly through the dark. Shapes in the blackness, barely human, just silhouettes against the snow. They don't talk. Talking means opening your mouth, and opening your mouth means the cold gets in. It burns your throat. It freezes your tongue. It makes your teeth ache down to the roots. Some of the younger kids have icicles hanging from their scarves where their breath has frozen. Little stalactites of ice, growing with every exhale. One boy, maybe 6 years old, is crying. Not because he's sad, not because he's scared, because the cold is burning his face. Frostbite doesn't feel like numbness at first. It feels like fire. Like acid eating through your skin. The nerves scream before they die. His mother crouches down, adjusts his scarf, pulls it tighter around his face. She whispers something Sayana can't hear, something soothing, something that won't help but needs to be said anyway. And they keep walking, because stopping isn't an option. Then, Sayana notices something. One of the older girls, maybe 12, has stopped walking. She's standing still in the middle of the path, staring at her hand, and Sayana—
You shouldn't have done that!
Look at the mess you've made.
Oh, I'm so
it.
sorry.
A small
I didn't
one,
mean to.
barely noticeable. The kind of tear that would mean nothing, absolutely nothing, anywhere else in the world. But here, at -71, a hole in your glove isn't just a hole, it's a countdown. The girl's fingers are already turning white. Not pale, not pink, white like bone, like chalk, like death. She's staring at them with a mix of horror and disbelief, like she can't quite process what's happening to her own body. Keep moving. One of the adults shouts, rushing toward her. Get inside now. The girl stumbles forward, cradling her hand against her chest, her breath coming in panicked gasps. Sayana watches her disappear into the school building, supported by 2 adults, her face twisted in pain. Later, during second period, whispers will spread through the classroom. They had to take her to the clinic. Her fingers turned black. They tried to warm them up, but it was too late. Frostbite. Stage 3. The kind where the tissue is already dead. Where warming it up only reveals the damage that's already been done. They had to amputate just the tip of her pinky finger. Just the first joint. All because of a hole in a glove. A hole she probably didn't even notice when she put it on this morning. Inside the school, it's warm. Almost shockingly warm. The heaters blast at full power, roaring and hissing. Fighting against the cold that presses against every window, every wall, trying to get in. The children peel off their layers slowly, carefully. You can't take off frozen clothes too fast. The sudden temperature change can cause the skin to crack and bleed, can cause the capillaries beneath the surface to burst. can turn warming up into its own kind of agony. Sayana sits at her desk, her fingers still numb. She rubs them together, trying to get the feeling back. It takes 10 minutes, sometimes 15. The pins and needles when circulation returns are almost worse than the numbness. The teacher, a woman in her 50s who has lived in Oymyakon her entire life, begins the lesson. Math, history, Russian literature, the same subjects children learn everywhere else in the world. She talks about Pushkin, about Tolstoy, about the great Russian writers who lived in cities where winter was an inconvenience, not a threat. But here, there's an unspoken understanding, a quiet resilience that runs beneath every word, every lesson. Because everyone in this classroom knows what it took to get here. Everyone has lost someone to the cold. A cousin, an uncle, a grandfather, a neighbor who went outside to check on the livestock and never came back, who was found the next morning, frozen solid, just 50 feet from his own door. The cold doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you're 8 or 80. It doesn't care if you're careful or reckless. It doesn't negotiate. It just takes. During recess, the children stay inside, obviously, but the energy, the restlessness, builds up anyway. One of the boys, a kid named Dmitri who always has something to prove, stands up and announces a dare. "I'll give you my lunch for a week," he says, pointing at another boy. "If you go outside without your coat, just for a minute, just to prove you can do it." The other kids laugh nervously. It's the kind of dare that seems stupid, reckless, suicidal, but also, in a twisted way, tempting. Because here, toughness is currency. Survival is respect. Being able to withstand the cold, to prove you're stronger than it, means something. The challenged boy stands up, walks toward the door. His face is set, determined. He's not going to back down, not in front of everyone. Sayana watches, her heart pounding. She thinks about the girl with the frostbitten finger, about her own cousin who lost 3 toes when he was 11, who walks with a limp now, who can't run anymore, who has nightmares about the cold. And then she does something she's never done before. She speaks up. "Don't." Her voice is quiet but firm. The whole classroom falls silent. The boy stops, turns, looks at her. "My cousin did that," she says. "He went outside without his boots, just for 2 minutes, just because someone dared him. He lost 3 toes. He's 14 now and he still can't feel his left foot. The cold doesn't care if you're brave. It doesn't care if you're trying to prove something. It just takes." For a moment, there's complete silence. The boy looks at the door, then back at Sayana, then at Dmitri, who's suddenly very interested in his desk. Then he sits back down. "Yeah," he says quietly, "not worth it." The moment passes. The teacher resumes the lesson, but Sayana's heart is still racing, because she knows how close he came, how close they all are, every single day, to making one small mistake that changes everything forever. The school day ends at 2 p.m., while there's still a sliver of light in the sky. Not sunlight, not really. Just a pale gray glow on the horizon that lasts for about an hour before the darkness swallows everything again. It's the only light they'll get today. Sayana bundles up again, layers, scarves, the routine in reverse. Her mother will be waiting at home with hot soup, with bread fresh from the oven, with a fire burning in the stove. But this time, as she walks, she notices something different. A group of tourists, foreigners. They're standing outside a small guest house, cameras in hand, marveling at the cold like it's a novelty, like it's a theme park attraction. One of them is wearing a North Face jacket. Just one, no scarf, no face covering. His hood is down. His hands are bare while he fiddles with his camera. Sayana stares. She can't help it. They're laughing, taking selfies, posing in front of thermometers that read temperatures they've probably never experienced in their entire lives. One of them, a young man with bright red cheeks and a huge grin, decides to do something monumentally stupid. He sticks his tongue out and tries to lick a metal railing. His tongue sticks instantly. The laugh dies in his throat. His eyes go wide. He starts making panicked, muffled sounds. His friends rush over, suddenly not laughing anymore, fumbling with a thermos of warm water. They pour it over his tongue, over the metal, trying to free him. It takes 30 seconds. When his tongue finally comes free, there's blood. Not a lot, but enough. a layer of skin left behind on the frozen metal. He's crying now, holding his mouth, tasting copper in pain. His friends are speaking in rapid English, words Sayana doesn't fully understand, but whose meaning is clear. Idiot, stupid. What were you thinking? Sayana watches, expressionless. To them, this is an adventure. A story to tell at dinner parties. A viral Instagram post. Look at us. We went to the coldest place on earth. Look how crazy we are. To her, this is Tuesday. This is waking up. This is going to school. This is coming home. This is life. She turns away and keeps walking, her boots crunching on snow so cold it squeaks like styrofoam. That night at home, the fire is roaring. Her grandmother is making pelmeni, little dumplings filled with meat and onions. The windows are fogged from the heat inside, completely obscuring the frozen world outside. Her grandmother asks her how school was. Fine, Sayana says, peeling off her layers, her face still numb. We learned about Moscow today, about the metro, and the big buildings, and how millions of people live there. Her grandmother smiles, stirring the pot. Would you like to live there someday? Where it's warmer? Where you don't have to fight just to walk to school? Sayana thinks about it. She thinks about the tourists, about the boy who almost went outside, about the girl with the frostbitten finger who will carry that scar for the rest of her life. She thinks about her mother wrapping the scarf around her face 4 times every morning, about her father with the blowtorch, about the classroom full of children who know what it means to survive. And then she says something that surprises even herself. No, I don't think so. Her grandmother's hands pause. She turns, looks at Sayana with curiosity. Why not, my love? Because Sayana searches for the words. Here, we know what matters. We know how to take care of each other. We don't take stupid dares. We don't stick our tongues on metal for Instagram. We know what real strength is. Not the kind that shows off. The kind that just survives. The kind that helps someone when their glove has a hole in it. The kind that speaks up when someone's about to do something stupid. Her grandmother's eyes soften. They shimmer with something that might be tears. She crosses the room and pulls Sayana into a hug. A real one, tight and warm and fierce. You're right, she whispers. You're absolutely right. This place makes you strong in ways nowhere else can. Not strong like a soldier. Strong like a tree in winter. Strong in your roots. Outside, the temperature has dropped to -73. The coldest it's been all week. The wind is howling now. A sound like wolves. Like ghosts. Like the earth itself crying out. Tomorrow, Sayana will wake up and do it all over again. She'll bundle up in the darkness. She'll walk through the cold that wants to kill her. She'll sit in a classroom with children who understand survival in ways most people never will. She'll learn about places where children complain because it's raining. Where a cold day is 10 degrees above zero. Where winter is an inconvenience, not a threat. And she won't complain, not once. Because in Oymacon you don't survive by being comfortable. You don't survive by taking the easy road. You survive by being strong, by looking out for each other, by understanding that every single day is a gift, hard-won and precious. Here, warmth isn't just something you feel on your skin. It's something you carry inside. It's in the way her mother wraps the scarf, in the way her father uses the blowtorch before dawn, in the way her grandmother makes pelmeni on the coldest nights, in the way the classroom fell silent when she spoke up, in the way the boy sat back down. It's in the unspoken understanding that they're all in this together, that survival isn't individual, it's collective, it's shared, and no amount of cold, no matter how brutal, no matter how deadly, can ever take that away. The fire crackles, the dumplings boil. Outside, the frozen world continues its eternal winter. But inside, there is warmth, and that warmth is enough.